Welcome to the Cue the Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Logan Stacer.
And I'm your other host, Michaela Stacer.
And we're going to get started with some Kansas City news. Restaurant chain Mo Betta's is opening a bunch of new locations in Kansas City, which is great news for the crowd who thinks Missouri is part of the South.
And a man recently won the Missouri lottery and said it was because of his morning routine, which is the most successful morning routine I've ever heard. And I've read a lot of self-help books.
Worlds of Fun and Oceans of Fun announced that they'll be reopening on April 8th, making April 8th a day of fun for anyone who doesn't suffer from motion sickness.
Meaning I will not be there. And a Kansas City local is going to be on the reality show Farmer Wants a Wife, a show where the farmers are nominated by their cows who want to stop being milked.
We got a great episode for y'all today. I'm super excited. This is our first episode with a guest. Big round of applause. Cue the spotlight on Clotilda Demauro.
Woo! Hi, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm so happy to be here.
We're really happy to have you here.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you. So today we're gonna be talking about your journey as an artist and all that entails and how you've gotten to where you are. We have a focus on artistry in Kansas City, but in smaller markets and what that experience is like generally. So the first question is, what kind of artist do you self-identify as?
I think someone remarkable and iconic has said this already, and it wasn't me. So I know. Okay.
She's humble.
Okay, wait, that's not how I meant to phrase that. But who was it? I forget who it was, but whoever it was, I really resonated with it. It's coming to me. But that my life is a work of art. And I know that's the most annoying answer, but I feel like, I guess now I identify as a videographer, singer, video and music producer at this moment in time. But 10 years from now, I could be like really good at like braiding grass or like.
I see that for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like a world-renowned grass braider.
Yeah. No, it's that.
That'll be really important 10 years from
That's
now
what I'm
when
saying.
there's only grass in like 4 places.
It's like, what are the needs of the collective? And right now I'm fulfilling those needs. I feel like using my gifts and things I really love. But honestly, I've taken a long time to narrow down what I love. So I'm pretty sure these are things that are going to stick with me the rest of my life.
That's good.
That's okay.
Yeah.
He's like a 10 multi-hyphenate person, so.
I know he is.
Yeah. So you're in good company.
Yeah, I know.
So where did it start? What was your origin story? When did you find your spark?
Growing up, I didn't exactly like relate to a lot of the people around me and the environment I grew up in.
Where'd you grow up?
A very, very suburban town in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
What's it called?
Hyper suburban. New Canaan, Connecticut.
New Canaan.
And I'm not going to be the hometown hater because we don't do that because it made me who I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you're here.
Yes. It was just like a super conservative town that focused mainly on academic excellence, and like everyone, your whole life was basically like a journey towards a journey in getting a high GPA to then go to like an Ivy League college.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
It
was the
makes
whole
sense.
thing.
You're on the East Coast.
Yeah. So like graduating, like a lot of my friends were all going to like Yale, Harvard, Cornell, MIT, like, and when people would ask me where I was going, I was like, Mizzou. And they were all like, where is that? Like having no idea where that was. And
Don't they have to learn geography to go to it?
I'm telling you, you would think. But no, I definitely also grew up with some really wonderful individuals who made it safe for me to be myself. You know, like I had like that like small inner circle that like we would just play in my backyard and make videos of ourselves. And then I would go inside to my parents' office and edit those videos. And I could edit those videos for hours. And like before I knew how to edit and I just knew how to use my camcorder, my cuts were like live action cuts. You know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause I can't edit on the camcorder.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, I couldn't say anything. Just cut. And then I would like stop it so that when I could go back and watch on my camcorder, I could make films before I knew how to edit or anything like that.
How young were you when you made your first film?
9 or maybe earlier, 8. I mean, everything that I still have that I used to create is me at like a really young age doing what I think are pretty complicated edits, putting together narratives. If you're putting together a narrative
at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think originally when I started getting into that, and I didn't always have people around me that I could film. Not that I didn't have any friends, but I had a few. And when they couldn't come over, I had no choice but to be the performer. And so like film myself and then go back on the computer and edit. I would play different characters. I would like, if I was playing a boy, I'd like make my hair short, put on a hat, and then I'd play the girl to do like duets for songs. And then I'd edit a music video together of me like duetting the song with myself.
So you were playing make-believe, but then you just set up a camcorder because you're like, 20 years from now, this is really going to pay off.
Exactly.
You're going to have so much allowance money from this.
Exactly. I'm telling you. And now I'm actually using a lot of that footage for a film I'm making, which is awesome. But a lot of that footage I ended up taking and using so I could like give that to my little self to like finish out the edits that she couldn't do at the time and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So who gave you the camera?
Who gave you the permission?
Yeah, what kind of computer did you have?
Right.
I just used my parents' little camera on their computer. On the
like the one that like the FBI agents use to like spy on us.
That exact one actually
Wow.
also
you
allowed
would
me to
just,
follow
like,
my dreams. So.
Hit record and
Yep.
get in front of the wow.
Yep. I did have like a little. Do you guys remember the flip cameras?
I can't say that I
We
remember
didn't
that.
record things at
No.
9
Okay.
years old. No.
So they used to have these flip cameras, and you could get them in like any different designs too. And mine was orange, ombre to pink with white little hearts on it.
That sounds very Clotilda.
Yes. And like the thing that was innovative about the flip cameras, though I think they still exist, but they didn't last very long, is you could just press a button and the USB would come out and you could just plug it right into your computer and upload the footage that way instead of having to like take out a memory card and put it in. And I don't know, it was supposed to be more convenient. So that was my first camera and I took it with me everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were your parents artists or?
No.
No. So you just were the.
In fact, they're very like, my mom calls herself like creative averted. Like she strictly producer. They met at NBC. My mom was a producer. My dad was a tour guide, Paige, and he went on to do marketing. So he did marketing for ESPN for 15 years. She kept doing production stuff, and she is like, strictly a producer, and he does his marketing thing, and I'm the black sheep. My brother loves music, though, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So that sounds like, there were some sprinkles of creativity in there.
Yeah.
They're the
It definitely
seeds.
isn't off the. It's not like they came.
They weren't like accountants.
They were
and-
not finance. They were not. Everyone in my town, all their parents were finance. Wall Street, like that. That was my town, and my parents were on the creative end of things, but not the creative parts of those creative places.
Got it.
That makes
Got
sense.
it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they had creative children.
Yeah. So it's not like they were like, take that music out of your ears. Like it wasn't like that.
You weren't like hiding in your room with your flip camera.
No. But there are deeply emotional parts of myself as an artist that my mom is getting better at understanding. That
Right.
she's like, I could never do what you do, or like, tell the internet about every deepest, darkest secret. She's like, I just don't get it, but that's your generation. I support what you do.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching her those parts, but yeah.
That's good. So this beginning origin story, you got your camera, you're recording these videos. How did that sort of, you started at 9. What was happening from like 9? How'd you grow in that?
I knew that I wanted to use my camera to help people. Like I knew that I wanted to change the world. Like I knew that I wanted to tell people stories. Like I was getting up at 6 a.m. every single day of 6th grade to watch CNN with make 2 bowls of Honey Nut Cheerios, big bowls. I was not big bowls of cereal in the morning with my face like 2 inches from the screen. And I felt like at the time growing up, it felt like broadcast was the best way to be the kind of storyteller that I wanted to be, which is behind the camera, but like in front of it as well. Cause I've always loved performance as much as I've loved being behind the camera. So I was always in acting classes and always doing that stuff too. So then when it came to choosing colleges later on, it was like, I did broadcast all of high school and I produced and directed our morning announcements. And like, that was like a huge part of my life.
Nice. I did our morning announcements.
Did you really?
Yeah.
They're fun, right?
They were.
They're great. It's dedication. It's not just like an extra elective you do. Like it kind of became my life. And so choosing schools, it was like journalism. It wasn't an option to do anything else really. And I think at the time I felt that was going to be the best way to get to where I needed to be. And it's so funny because it ended up taking so many different forms as I got older. So like I started in TV broadcast at Mizzou and I quickly realized it wasn't for me. Like I needed more creative freedom. I wanted to be a filmmaker. Like I wanted to be able to tell stories in a way that allowed me control over the narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which that's a kind of power that people can use for bad. But if you have the right intentions, then you can do some really powerful things with documentary. So I ended up switching my major from broadcast journalism to documentary journalism. And that's the degree that I graduated with.
Nice.
So what was your first documentary?
My first documentary is called My Name is Clotilda. And I took all the footage from when I was younger and I compiled it together and put it on top of my own music I've made, poetry I've written. And at the time, I hadn't shared any of those parts of myself with the world. And so everyone was getting their assignments for their projects. And they were all like, really important subjects that were very important. But I was like, how can I make how can I make a film about anyone else's life when I haven't even introduced myself to the world? Because with documentary, it's like when you're watching a documentary, you're watching the perspective of the filmmaker. You're not watching, the subject is a smaller percentage of that story because the filmmaker makes all the decisions. So I wanted something that would at least like state who I am and what I'm about so that going forward and telling other people's stories, you know who I am, like who's behind the camera, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was also when I started going by my full name, which is Clotilda, because I'd gone by Chloe my whole life. I was really embarrassed about my name because
I feel like Clotilda is one of those like names where you can just have a first name and everyone is just like, that's Clotilda.
I think I knew that, but that was before other people agreed with me or said that.
That's fair.
Now they do because I own it. But when I didn't own it, people will like match whatever energy you're giving out. So when you're uncertain, they'll be uncertain. And like, I noticed the more confidently I say my name, people match the energy. They're like, oh, that's a cool name. But back in the day when I was like, Clotilda, they'd be like, ooh, yikes. I've had people say so many things to me. Like, can I call you something else? Like,
what's like the most common butchering of your name?
Probably Claudia, Clodita.
Clodita.
I got Clodita last week. Yeah, but I don't even get like pressed about it because it's like, oh, they're at least trying to say my name. Like I would never get mad if, And I always tell people like, if you have to ask me a million times, if you forget it a million times, like that's cool. Just like if you can try and say it, that'd be dope. You know
what it means?
It means loud, powerful, and famous. And loud in battle. It was like a battle name. I guess. I don't know. I should probably know more history about that, but it's a European name.
Very cool. I've never heard a name like that.
Yeah. When did you start adding hyphenates to your multi-hyphenate creative self?
When I realized I had to narrow down, does that make sense?
No.
Yes, it does. It does make sense. She had to narrow down, so then she needed to add hyphens.
Yes.
Like, I got to explain this somehow.
Yes, exactly.
I get it.
Yes. And now all my hyphens kind of work for each other, which is awesome. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But it's so funny. I've only recently found peace with what I do. I was really battling the last year with, if I just perform, like the filmmaker in me will die. Okay, now let me be the filmmaker me. Oh my God, no, I'm telling everyone else's story, but like, and I'm filming all these performers, but like, I need to perform. I want to perform. And I'm like, you can do both. You can literally be both. Like, that's what being a powerhouse is. Like, like do both and just own that though. Like, there was a point when I realized I had to just be 100% of that because everyone's story is different. And so like, we can look at one person's story and it's like, oh yeah, they're this like cool, badass, like singer. And that's just what they do. And that's who they are. But maybe there's other parts of them that we just didn't know because they didn't tell us. But had they told us, we would have accepted that. And so now I'm just owning being, doing multi hyphens.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you said you were at MU, Mizzou.
Why'd you say it like that?
Well, because if the people who don't know what MU is, the people on the East Coast watching this, Missouri, the University of Missouri. Studying journalism. I imagine that was helpful in growing you as a documentarian. Crazy. So we have a section of our podcast that we call Free Game.
Free Game.
Free Game. So if you'd like to look into this camera here and give the people some free game, some real practical advice that if they were to do what you do, how could they do it better? Free game.
Okay.
Free game.
Okay. Don't identify with the moments in between. And by the moments in between, I mean the moments that you're not inside of your craft, the moments that you're not using your gift and you're like, what do I even do? What am I even good at? There are other variables in life that can stress us out and actually cause us to forget how incredible we are and how gifted we are. And like, just get really observant in those states And if you need to go sing a song or do something you do to remind you of what you're capable of, go do that. And it'll seem like that's the last thing you should do because maybe you're in fight or flight and you're worried and you're stressing. Why would I go sing a freaking song right now? Or whatever it is that you do that makes you feel present. And that is honestly, in those moments, that's the one thing you need to keep you going and keep you on path. Otherwise, you're going to make decisions from fear that aren't going to last. They're not sustainable. Make decisions as some people call it your higher self or like as the best you that you know is going to be like 10 years from now. Do I want to still be doing this? And if the answer is yes, make a decision from that person's place. If that makes sense. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. How long did it take you to get to that mindset?
I feel like I just got to this mindset today. You know what I'm saying?
Just right now.
Literally.
I was like,
When you said free game, my life changed.
Yeah, it was right now. I've never said those words out loud before, actually. I gotta get out of here.
They just like downloaded and you were like, yes, this is what I have to share. This is what I'm going to do from this moment forward.
Oh my gosh. Low key though, like, you know, even that mindset, me saying that ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And if you were to catch me in a different moment last week, I'd have been like, y'all, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And then I had a shoot yesterday and I'm basically doing these like 1 to 2 minute reels for local businesses and artists and helping them tell their stories in a way that really showcases who they are and why they do what they do. Like you may never mention your business once in the entire video. Like the point isn't like, this is a service I can provide because everyone can provide a service, right? So the point is to get people's stories out there. And I did a shoot yesterday for my friend who she was like in the bar scene for a long time and bartending, and she was an alcoholic and she battled with addiction and it just sucked the life out of her. And she recovered from all of that. She got sober. She left the bar scene and she started her own business, and it like pretty recently launched about last month. She finally got her own studio and everything.
Wow.
Sitting there doing that yesterday for her, like my head's buzzing. I'm like completely present. I'm a human tripod also. I don't know. It's just one of those weird gifts I was born with where like my body freezes if I have a camera in my hand and it's just still. Like I don't know what happens. Like something literally takes over me.
I mean, when you start at 9.
I was saying, did you learn that in documentary school? Or
right, yeah.
Like, here's how to be a tripod?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, 16 weeks of standing. Okay, guys. 3-hour credit.
Right.
Yeah.
Eventually your body catches up. Eventually, Logan's stuck. Do you know?
I'm back.
There's levels to it. There's like tripod, 101, tripod 102.
Yes. And my body's been through all of them. So yesterday I was in that state and no question inside of me what I'm supposed to be doing. None. There's no certainty. I mean,
Wow.
Oh gosh. There's no uncertainty in those moments. And I was on my computer all day. From the second I woke up this morning, all I could think about was getting to my computer to edit. I love editing so much. I could be on my computer for weeks editing and not take care of any physical necessities, which is an awful thing, right? But but that's what using your gifts should feel like, right? And so that's why you're getting a very confident Clotilda right now.
Yeah.
Is like yesterday, like that knocked me right back into like, yep, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And so I think that we ebb and flow throughout that our whole life, unless I think you never explore your gifts. You may just stay where it's comfortable and never really experience those highs or those lows, but somewhere in the middle. And that might be nice, but I really like the highs. So.
Yeah. You got any free editing game?
What's free editing game?
Like
advice?
A tip.
Like, yeah, like if like what makes good editing?
Yes. Okay, so like I have this like thing, I call it the pre-hell. I don't know if that word might be a double negative or something like that. Let my brain
I think that's where we're at right now. Not but some people might be there.
They might call that Earth.
Yeah.
So there is this phase of any artistic project where all you have is a block of clay, of ice, whatever Michelangelo was before he's Michelangelo. And you're so stressed out and you have no idea how it's going to be anything. And then you see past that phase. You have to see through that phase. It's so hard because you're like, what do I do? Especially with editing, you can have endless footage.
Yeah. Maybe
you're making something that requires you to use archival footage. Oh my God, like where? You just start somewhere. It'll start to take form, and then that phase is done, and you're like, But that phase may be anywhere from like, depending on what you're editing. If it's a film, it could be weeks. If it's just like a short video, it could be a couple hours. But once you're past that stage and you have your narrative formed, you know, your structure on some level, and then you can start to like music, this cut, this cut, this cut, and you're feeling the emotions of your subject as you're editing and you're inside their world. Like, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. So my editing tip would be seeing past that first stage, and just making the dang thing.
Just like get started.
Just do it.
Just do it. Great. Free game.
Free game.
Free
I
game.
love that phrase.
Free game.
So every artist has that stage of the career where they're just making stuff that the world may never see just to get better at your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what was that for you?
Yeah.
You know, when did you have that period where you're just trying stuff out, making things that no one needs to see it, but you know you're getting better at what you're doing?
I think that I guess all of college we had to do a lot of projects that were super helpful in that way, and I didn't put any of them out, but they were all necessary. The most recent way I can relate to that is, so I came up with my idea for my production company about 5 years ago. And I spent the last year building it, and all summer I just had to do free work. Like, I just had to show people the vision without, wanting anything back from them. So also maybe there wasn't all the like, hey, I want to film you. I want to film artists performing. But until I know what I even want to do and how I want to structure that, I can't tell people the kind of product I'm giving them. So I just spent all summer trying to figure that out. And oh my gosh, when there was like no expectation or pressure, it really felt like God like moves through my camera and like moves through me when I'm like focusing on someone. It is like, it's crazy. And then, so going back and watching that footage, I still get all those emotions that I was having in the moment filming that person. So yeah, I think I spent a lot of the summer figuring out what I wanted to do for artists. And it was so rewarding because then I got to just give people these like 2-minute clips of them doing their thing at an open mic, and they've never seen themselves perform before. A lot of these artists are geniuses, like incredibly talented, but are not comfortable being the ones to decide that they're going to be on film, you know, or filmed on film. We're like in the 60s. Just filmed. So being able to be the one to do that for them and to give them that is so rewarding.
So what's a project that you're working on for you that's not seen yet?
Okay.
Unless it's like top secret.
It's not top secret at all. So I've been working on a film for, I guess, really my whole life, but like the last 9 months. And it was kind of what I wanted to do with My Name is Clotilda, my first film. But my hard drive crashed like 2 weeks before the film was due, and I lost all my footage. And I don't think I was ready at all to make the film that I'm now making. And that film was like, let me put together like all the footage of me finally like putting myself on camera and using my voice. But back then, that was like 3 or 4 years ago that I wanted to make that film. I hadn't done like anywhere close to the amount of work I've now done vlogging and filming myself and singing and going through the ups and downs of learning a new skill and then getting better. I hadn't done any of that work. I was just ready to like take a few seconds of my life, be like, yo, this is how you do it. Like, get after it, guys. To think about like the journey that lied ahead of that point is just crazy. I had to go through so much to know what I know now. And now that I know what I know now, I'm ready to show people that no matter where you're at skill-wise with something you want to do, if you want to do it, it means it's for you. And all you have to do is put in a little effort every week, every day, and you'll get better. And I've started to hear my singing voice like do things it could not do a year ago, sometimes even a month ago. And I think that when your brain understands that you're now identifying as something, it starts to pull from places. It starts to pull from music. It starts to pull from like maybe other artists you've heard. And like once the self-doubt starts to strip down, because that can often affect your pitch and it can affect your ability to deliver, you'll start to do things you're like, what the heck? So I've been recording that journey. Like there are some nights where I haven't filmed myself doing like open mics, but for the most part, I knew how important it would be to me to document this journey. So I almost was always pulling out my camera or my phone for every performance I've done in the last 2 years. So now that I'm at that point, this is a film about how to get more comfortable using your voice and embracing your gifts and what you know you want to do, no matter where you're at. And so it's a compilation of all that footage. The first half is a lot of me. It's just a lot of Clotilda, which was it's only a weird thing to do because of how I know other people view putting so much of your face out there.
Yeah.
You know, and how that could look self-involved. To me, like I said to you before we start the podcast, I'm the only me I'm going to have till the day I die. So I can't have anyone else tell this story. Yeah. If anyone else tries to tell a story at some point, I'll be like, well, what about the footage you missed from this and that and this and that? Like, it has to be me. Like, it has to be me. And there's footage I have I'm never going to give anyone that because I don't want anyone to edit but me because I can only show you how I've experienced this from my perspective. You know, but if you want to make a film about me from your perspective, that's dope. Like, that's cool. I know this will sound crazy right now, assuming that someone's going to want to come by and make a film about me one day, but should they?
They might. They might.
There'll be two.
Should they? I have to cover the ground first. No, that's not the main reason. The main reason is because I'm the only one who's been on this journey with myself, you know? And so the first half is just all footage of me getting over this fear. And it kind of starts on like me trying to film I lived in New York City for a summer. I went to acting school there. And that's when I pulled out my camera and I tried to vlog for the first time. And it's the saddest, like genuinely sad, like heartbreaking thing you've ever seen. It's just like me starting a sentence and like forgetting what I was talking about and then getting really upset at myself and starting again and again and again until eventually I just like, my shoulders go down and I turn off the camera. And then it cuts to me like now and I'm like, hey guys. So like just trying to show people like the difference and like when you actually do something enough. And then towards the end of the film starts to get into my singing journey, which is like for me an even more vulnerable mode of expression than even talking. For some reason it has felt more vulnerable for me.
Oh, absolutely.
For some people it's the opposite, you know, so I think everyone's different. But and the end is like kind of how my community has supported me in that and these open mics, how much they've changed my life and the people who are just doing it themselves too and showing me the way. So it's me, it's my community, because both can't exist without one another.
So in that season of growth, you're talking about the highs and the lows. Who have been like some mentors that you've had or who's like coached you along the way or like who's just really helped you become this version of yourself on this journey? Oh,
so many people, but the ones that like immediately come to mind. My first acting teacher, Deborah Kim, at the Stella Adler Studio of Acting in New York City. That was like a very prestigious moment for me, I felt like.
Nice.
It wasn't like it was the official school. Like you did have to audition to get in. But there is a year-round school. This was the summer program.
Okay.
But like
you still got in.
You still got into the summer.
Yeah, you were still there.
Yes. And there was a day I got up and introduced myself to the class and I was like, hi everyone, like my name's Chloe Demauro. And she goes, sit back down. And I sat back down because when Deborah Kim tells you sit down, like you sit down. So I sat back down and then she said, get back up. And I knew what she meant. She wanted me to use my full name. Like I just knew. And so I introduced myself as Clotilda Demauro and she looked at me and she was like, that is what you are to go by from now on.
That's good. She had the roster. She was like, I don't see a Chloe here.
Chloe who? Yeah. And that was the first time I felt my name. Like that was the first time I felt my presence in all of its fullness in my body.
How old were you?
19, I think. And she also told me the class, she just like really changed my life in far more ways than just like acting. But she said to us, if you deny yourself the things that you truly want to do, the only option left is dying of disease or suicide. That's what she told me.
Oh,
I was like, I don't want to check those boxes. I don't
feel like that's not for me.
Yeah. I choose the alternate. So that was Deborah Kim, and she changed my life. And then two other mentors in my life, Robert Greene and Stacey Wolfel. They were my two professors throughout my time at Mizzou, and they were basically like became parents to me. And it's so interesting. Like Robert is this like filmmaker heavily in the game. He has like a Netflix film. Like they really put Mizzou Journalism School really has got it going on. That school changed my life. I don't think that school is necessarily for everyone, but certain places and spaces are, and that happened to serve me a lot. But yeah, Robert's kind of this like filmmaker, sort of like, I don't know, like I'm being so careful about what I say right now. But like his brain just works really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so like mine does too. And like, I really was able to relate to him in so many ways. And he is who got me like really passionate about documentary from the get. And yeah, I would say more of that like hyperactive, crazy creative mind is him. And then Stacy's he's the producer. He is like the more like very structured, grounding kind of energy. And so they kind of really, really balanced me.
That's good.
In both those ways. Yeah. And they're still in my life, and I was with them last week. And they give me a lot of confidence to do what I do and still do. So
amazing. That's a good segue into doing what you do. We have another segment of our podcast called Do the Thing. And I see you have a guitar here
Yes.
with you. And so we would like to invite you to do the thing.
yes.
Whatever that looks like for you in this moment on this day.
I would love that. So a little background behind this song is this is the song that's going to be at the end of the film. It's kind of like the idea behind it is like it's the first song I finished and recorded.
Wow.
It's gone through like 50 different variations of how I'm recording it, and I'm officially just doing it by myself because I had so many people in on the vision, and it was distorting it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I realized I was wanting that because I didn't believe in myself enough to do it alone. And now I do because enough time has passed and I've learned more things. But it's called Gone Girl. And it's about surrendering to the process and making room for all your blessings to come in, and not obsessing over the hard parts in between.
That's good. Does your guitar have a name?
It does. It's Madame Butterfly.
Madame Butterfly?
Yes. So when my grandma passed away this year, and she loved Italian opera. And whenever we were getting her records together, like her stuff together, there's one record called like, I don't know how to say in Italian, but it was Madame Butterfly in Italian.
Oh, okay.
So that's when I was like, that's the perfect name.
Isn't it like Farfalle?
I do not speak Italian.
I'm doing Duolingo right now. So I know butterfly is because it's also those noodles that are like, that's
I've
butterfly.
never related the butterflies to noodles.
That's,
Isn't
that's
that
the same word.
I don't know. What I know how to say in
Free game.
Yes, I was like, what I know how to say in Italian is he eats food. So
Can you say it?
Lui mangia cibo.
Oh my gosh.
Because we were going to Italy and I was like, I should learn some Italian, but that's the only thing that really stuck.
Who was the he who was eating food?
I guess it would be him.
Did you need to
in Italy going, he eats food.
Who eats food? It's important to know in Italy
that he eats food.
Not that you need to tell them that you need more food for them to give you more food, because they will keep serving it up. Let me tell you.
This isn't about us.
So it's not about us. We clearly don't know how to say Madame Butterfly in Italian. We can't help you with that.
And the song is just 2 chords. So the point is that you can like do a lot with not much.
Amen.
Forget about the hell. You know you're a rock star, yeah, you've known since you were 12. So it's time you grab that mic of yours and sing that pretty heart out. Gone girl, gone get what you know is yours. Yeah, you're gone get all that you deserve, and then you'll be gone girl, and they'll all ask you how. And you're at peace even when they try to rush. You're okay with letting a list collect some dust. So do what you want until the silence speaks. And tomorrow you'll wake up and act accordingly. And you'll be gone, girl, gone. Get what you know is yours. Yeah, you're gone, yeah, gone, yeah. All that you deserve, and then you'll be gone, girl, and they'll all ask you how, and you'll respond, girl, respond. I am what I love. The pressure is on, but the pressure is off. The pressure is on, but the pressure is off. All I gotta say is, do what the heck you want. Go, girl, go get what you know is yours. Yeah, you're gon' get all that you deserve, and then you'll be gone, girl, and they'll all ask you how. Your respond, girl, respond, and what I love.
Ooh, good. Thank you. That was so good.
Thank you guys.
That
I saw
was
you
really
go
simple
to a
chords.
place.
That was it.
I saw you go somewhere. Welcome back.
Thanks, guys.
I felt like I was transported.
I know. Good job.
2 chords.
2 chords.
And you know what's crazy? Like, I came to Kansas City and like, I just wanted to throw myself into music because I was so done with not doing it. Like, I would just cry myself to sleep over wanting to do it so bad. But like, I feel like when your brain doesn't know enough,
Yeah.
but your body wants to do something, it's like the most frustrating feeling. And so I was like, all right, head first, I'm going to work at a jazz bar. And so I applied to a jazz bar. And because I didn't necessarily want to work at a studio. Like, I wanted to be closer to the actual music to learn, you know?
Kansas
So-
City, we are a UNESCO city of music, the only city
It's
of music
crazy.
in the country.
What?
Yeah.
what does the word UNESCO mean?
It's an acronym. It's like we'll look it up. It'll be in the show notes. But it's like
What?
it's like a national, like a global organization, and so
Oh,
they
it's
have
like
like
a-
cities of music, cities
Oh.
of different kinds of things, and we're the only city of music in the country.
I thought it was a word that you made up. Like, not made up, but like you have such a broad vocabulary. I thought you just pulled it out of the dictionary and were like, it's a UNESCO. And I was like, gonna have
Okay,
to-
UNESCO. Okay.
No, but yeah. Anyways, continue.
And so I applied to this jazz bar. I got the job. It was a really formative 3 months, and I ended up like almost singing with them. But like to sing with them required so much jazz knowledge and practice and learning, and it was so frustrating. And I realized it was frustrating not because I wasn't good enough, but because I was not interested in the kind of music that they wanted me to do. And there is jazz that I love, you know, but what they needed from me, I couldn't deliver in a way that was making my soul happy. And then, so I left there, didn't end up doing that. We rehearsed and stuff, but it didn't end up aligning ultimately. And then I went on just so many more journeys with so many more mentors musically in this city. And they've all really thrown me into it and taught me so much in a way that is just methodical and complicated. And I've learned so much from it. And that, honestly, a lot of that is probably why I can do this. But for the most part, I realized that I could just do it my own way and still make beautiful music without all these terms and things that were just ultimately making me feel more insecure about where I was musically. And then I decided that, like, I mean, there's so much different music out there. And there's like what Post Malone made his first song on GarageBand. Like, there's this other, what's his name? He did Taj. He did Ayo K Ty. That song, he just sampled that song from YouTube, like those instruments from YouTube. And then he made that. Like,
Wow.
there are so many different stories. And I think that for me, it was easy to compare myself to the very professional side of music in Kansas City. And I bet it got me great. Like, I bet it got me really like good, even though it broke me so many times because I just didn't understand why I couldn't be as good and knowledgeable as people around me. And then I was so tired of it. And so I just wrote Gone Girl, and I just made it simple. And I think I can get through the song, and I like the song, so I'm happy, you know? But I think it's important to remember that you don't have to do too much to make something.
That's powerful.
Have you written other songs?
Many other songs. Yeah. So I think after the film is done, I'm going to start recording all that music. I have at least 10 to 15 songs.
Oh, wow.
That's an album.
Yeah.
That's a healthy album.
Yeah. I think Gone Girl is the one I feel most confident performing because I'm recording it. I recommend that every artist, whether or not they are planning to release that song, though I'll always encourage people to release everything. But like, even if not, record your song because you will get to know it front to back to front, front to back. Like it'll just ingrain itself in your head.
Yeah.
So Gone Girl's the only song there's one other song, but Gone Girl's the only song that me alone has gotten to record. And that's why I know it so well. And so I feel most comfortable performing it for that reason.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. You started to talk a bit about Kansas City and how this music scene has started to influence you and how it's inspired you. And I'm curious, just from your point of view, being someone who was in New York, someone who was at Stella Adler's summer acting class.
Stella Adler. It's not Stella Adler. It's Stella Adler now.
Yeah. What's your view on Kansas City and what we got going on here?
Oh my gosh. I moved 4 times before moving here in the same year and a half.
Wow. That is an artist struggle, though, when you work in different cities and then you have all these different states on your taxes. That's a
There
real
was a
thing.
year we had 4 states.
Yeah, it
we
was
had California, Atlanta, New York, Kansas, and Missouri. We had 5.
Well, that almost, that hits most of the states that I was in. But I was also self-employed when I lived in California, so I don't know if I ever was on anyone's taxes. There's something I have to do for
We'll
that
cut
still.
that out.
just cut all of this out. Thank you.
Anyway, so you've moved a lot. You were just saying a few moments ago.
Yeah, you've moved. Where have you moved?
So, I left. Okay. Rewind. So I was in Columbia, Missouri, during COVID. I was a COVID graduate.
Oh, wow.
Which was crazy. I graduated in a movie theater parking lot. I loved it. I was like, guys, this is going to go down in history. And everyone wanted like the conventional graduation. I was like, well, that won't be in textbooks, you guys. Like, we're going to be in the AMC freaking parking lot in our textbook. Like, how fun is that? So yeah, I graduated, and I loved Columbia so much, but I was like, I can't live in a college town the rest of my life. Even though you can do that if you want, and some people do. But that was the narrative in my head at the time. I also knew that I had to try Los Angeles. Like, that was the entertainer in me. That was the actress in me. Like, she had to have her LA moment. And I had to give that to her. So I moved to LA during COVID. I moved there for 6 months, tops. May have been 5.5 months. I don't know, but 6 months. And it was beautiful. The state is beautiful. The beach is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so saturated with so much passion and goals that for someone like me who's already really passionate, it created more anxiety than it did inspiration. Now, that could be because of who I was at the time. I talk about it like it was yesterday. At this point, it was like 2 years ago. So if I lived there now, maybe it'd be different. Oh no, it just made me anxious. So I moved back home. Didn't know what I was doing with my life. Literally, I was living with my parents, and I felt really sad. But I kept picking up my guitar and I kept practicing. And still making stuff and still vlogging, always talking about what's going on in my life and trying to help other people deal with that same thing. Moved to Maryland. My friend had like a beach house there, but I moved there in the off season. So I was living, it was weird. It was awesome. It was weird. It was Ocean City, Maryland during the cold winter. So it was just the locals left.
Nice.
And a lot of self-reflection. And I started a jewelry company out of there. And I was like selling to like the local vendor coffee shops and stuff like that in Maryland. So I never stopped. Like I've never stopped. I just really wanted to be simple for a second. It felt like I'd gone from like all of this like hustle in LA and like wanting to be a vlogger and wanting to entertain and wanting to sing without any of the prerequisite practice or, you know, just wanting now to like be a pop star, like, you know? So I was like, I hate all of that. Like, I just want to be me and make my little jewelry and sell it to people and not have anyone's eyes on me. That's really, it was like a deep sadness, but it was very peaceful as well. And it was really cold. It was the winter and it just felt very, like it was a very internal time for me. And then something will always wake back up. That's just the ebb and flow of life. Something will always wake back up. And so like the part of me that like wants to entertain and wants to impact lots of people woke back up and was like, I need to go. Like I need to establish myself somewhere. Like I'm ready and I want to be back in the Midwest. Like it just felt, I just feel like this part of the country is just so grounded in what matters because it moves at a bit of a slower pace. And I think that time adds up and allows people to like actually reflect and things like that. I don't know. That's my best guess.
Yeah.
And how energy works and things like that. But, so my best friend of now 7 years, lives here, but I didn't know anyone else, but she was like my like marking point of like, if all goes wrong and I am like on the side of the street with nothing left, at least I'll have Caitlin.
That's good.
But I don't think you necessarily need that to move to a new city. Like I've moved to other places without, you know, anyone there. So it can be done. But she's just been such a rock in my life. She's actually probably a huge reason as to why I moved here and why I stayed here. But mostly like I just feel at peace here. I feel so calm here. I think everyone has different parts of the world that resonate with their soul the best. And mine is definitely the Midwest. And I musically, like, oh my gosh, like I've met some of the most talented, most informed, most knowledgeable, I have an hour today and an hour tomorrow and an hour the next day to help you. And let's do this and let's do that and let's do this. And no one's asked for anything from me. Like, what?
Yeah.
Now this is why I want to tell everyone stories now. Like I want to like, there's always this like, am I giving enough back? Like what? You'll just spend all this time with me making music. Like, and I have friends of all ages and all genders now. Like it's wild. So yeah.
It's a good place to be. It's a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, being in this stage of your career, you know, we talk about promotion for an artist and being able to put yourself out there. You have no problem with that as...
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Clotilda, you are like all on the internet.
It's really hard to miss me.
Social media superstar.
Yes, she is like, you are a pop star.
I always say I'm the worst ex to have. Like there's no escaping me.
That's funny. So I'm curious how you've managed like social media. For me, I'm like, I can go like a day and I'm like, I did it for a day, but you're consistent and I really respect that. And I think it's a tool that a lot of artists aren't utilizing to their full ability. And I definitely see you maxing out that resource.
No, literally maxing out. Like I gotta sleep now.
So tell us about social media and just generally about promoting your work and, you know, what you feel like, what kind of promotion is the prompt.
Yeah.
Yep.
I never saw it as promotion and I never saw it as, I mean, like the actress entertainer in me has always been obsessed with the idea of fame, just the idea of it. Imagining myself as famous. Like, so I think that like, to be perfectly honest, that definitely plays into like why I was so okay with it is because like the little girl like wanted to be famous. And now I'm like, I ask God every day to just align me with like the right people, reaching the right people and with the best reality for me. Like that's constantly my desire. But the reason I say I've never thought about it as promotion is because I found so much healing through it that's the only reason I'm consistent. Like the only reason I'm consistent is because to hear from other people out there just like me keeps me going, you know? So that's what's made me like, if something happens, I'm really going through it. Like, I just need to talk to like my people. I need to talk to my community about it. Like, that's why I don't stop. And so I think that a lot of artists are making the mistake now to just do it strictly to get their music out there in a way that's draining them, not in a way that they enjoy. You want to find a way that you really enjoy doing social media. And I also believe that if you do the right thing for you, it'll take the best form in your life. And for some people, it might not be social media, but for a lot, I think it is. I think we all have a story to share and a voice to share, and it could be really healing and really therapeutic for a lot of people. And then also, get their art out there in a way that, like, because we're more saturated now in terms of like music and just everything, that like you're gonna find a crowd that resonates with what you do. Whereas before, it's like we have gatekeepers deciding the few individuals that get to have their stuff out there, so we have less to choose from. Now we have so much to choose from, and like there's how many billion people on this planet?
Almost
8 billion people.
Yeah, we're getting there. Then we're gonna cross 8 like next month.
Internet isn't everywhere, but it's a lot more widespread than it used to be, and you can find your crowd, and that crowd can actually keep you sustained enough in every area and abundant enough to really do your art full time. Like, that's the power that the internet is giving us now. So like, flipping that narrative of like, oh God, I have to do this today. Every time you do that, you're going to perpetuate and expand that energy that you're going into it with. And that's where you're going to end up with. But when I go into it, like, I need to share this, like it might help someone today. Like none of the ways I've grown have been me forcing anything. Anytime I try and force anything, like it just doesn't resonate as much. And that's okay. I'm okay with those versions of myself that are maybe doing it for the wrong reasons. Like, the ego is always going to exist on some level. And I'm not saying that like I haven't grown doing some of those things, but it's every time that I just let go and post from that place that I get the most growth and whatever. At the end of the day, you can always have 1 million more followers than you do now. And Beyonce might still be thinking about how she's at 100 million, but she's not 101. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe she isn't thinking those things. Maybe she's let it go. But
she's got someone on staff thinking about that.
She's got someone on staff thinking about that. Exactly. And like, you see it all the time. We see it in documentaries. We see it, with artists who are big. And then we watch a documentary and they're still messed up about like, the last show they did not being as good as the one before that. And they're experiencing the same emotions as like Joe Bob from down the street who has 10 followers but doesn't have 15 followers yet. So it's like, we're all going to experience the same emotions regardless of what level we're at. So you need to really, in all you do, come from your heart and try and find a lane in it that heals you. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
I like what you said too, because you said you didn't do it to promote yourself. And so I think it's very valuable also when artists let people see them beyond just, this is what I do, but this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like that resonates a lot with people of like, oh, I resonate with her, not because of what she's doing, but because of who she is. And I'm interested in what that person is doing.
What's interesting about that is I think a part of it was a self-confidence thing. Like, okay, if they don't like it felt like I had like, when I was younger, it felt like I had been trying to act and do so many things for so long. Well, like, if no one's going to like me for those things, maybe they'll just like me for who I am.
Maybe they will.
Yes. So being me, it was almost like a self-protection thing I did of like, it doesn't matter where I do and what I go, I'll always have this. So if people like not approve of this, but like can find a connection with this, then I'm good for life. Like, and I think that's why I encourage so many like musicians, like put your personality out there too. Like, and if that means it's in your music, that's fine. But like, put your personality out there because that's lasting. And if you don't want to do music tomorrow, you want to stop doing music, suddenly all your fans are gone and you're like, where'd everyone go? And it's like, you were just putting out, maybe songs is a bad example because I know that music is very soul bearing, but I would definitely feel really stripped of who I am if like I had an audience based off of like just pictures of myself. I know people do, and like no disrespect, but I think that like the recognition I got from those things would feel more empty. But like now, like when people reach out to me and are like, I've been following you, like, thank you. Or like, sometimes it happens in person. It's pretty cool. That is like dope. That's why I can talk about it and like be like, and own that because it's me being me and it doesn't feel like they are recognizing something I'm not. And that's something I'm protective over because I know that a lot of people who go into the entertainment industry and the game of putting yourself out there, if you're not putting all of you out there, you can set yourself up for some real identity crises. So I've always been really aware of that and wanting to make sure I don't go in that direction.
That's good. Well, our last question to bring us home, what's the vision? What's the big picture goal for Clotilda the Professional?
Oh, so I recently launched my production company called Big Couch Productions. It's on the hat. Yes. And I've really narrowed it down in the last year. Like, what's my focus? And like, my focus is really helping people transition from not believing themselves to seeing themselves one or two times, and then being able to, from that point, put themselves out there. So it's almost like I feel like the vessel point before people take off and embrace who they are. So whether that's through a video or through a song I help them with, I want people to really see themselves through my work. And some of that work will mean me performing, and some of that work will mean others performing. So it'll always be back and forth for me, I think. But big picture is, I guess, inspiring others to use their voice and embrace who they are, all the weird parts of them, everything, all the boring parts, all the dull parts, all the awesome parts, and do the same for myself along the way.
Great. Amen. Amen.
Awesome.
We love that for you.
We do love that for you.
You guys are awesome.
I'm like a big picture for a big couch.
Everything's bigger. And then I got a dog that was like twice my size. Like, everything's just been bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah.
2023.
That's right.
Go big.
That's
So
right.
big. Well,
you know what time it is? Well, Clotilda may not, but it is time for the rap cap.
what
you
is
gonna
a rap
slime me?
cap?
No, I'm not going to slime you. A rap cap is where I will freestyle rap. I will recap in rap this conversation.
Oh my gosh.
So you're about to be serenaded.
So yes,
Oh my
you're the
gosh, it's
topic
an honor.
of my rap cap.
I'm so excited.
Okay,
Here we go.
Logan, you gonna drop the beat? She picked up a camera when she was 9 years old. That is when her story was about to unfold. She was just 9 and it was time for Clotilda to arrive. Now she's older and she's bolder. She is on a big old couch. And now she will not even slouch because she's confident in herself and she knows what to do.
Yeah.
And that's my rap cap.
Yeah.
She knows just what to do.
Amen. That's where we stop.
Wait, this unfound talent, this is untapped talent, Michaela. Where did this come from? How long have you been freestyling for?
Oh, I have been freestyling for quite some time.
Logan's like, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I'm an aspiring, spiraling freestyle rapper.
You have a spiraling freestyler.
Yeah, one of those two.
Watch episode 1. You'll be caught up.
Yes.
I'm so impressed. That was so impressive.
Yeah, that's
Thank you
my
for
rap
that.
cap of Clotilda.
I'm just gonna like cut that from this piece and just listen to it in the car.
You should.
When I'm feeling down. She started a big couch. Now there's no going back. She ain't gonna slouch.
even
She
slouch.
ain't
Yeah.
gonna slouch.
Hey.
She ain't gonna slouch. Like,
Yes.
oh my
Glad I
gosh.
could inspire you.
I love you guys so much. You have such a nurturing, calm, grounded energy that makes it so easy to flow. So thank you for being that for me, because it really helps.
Thanks for being our first guest. This is history.
I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm honored.
And thank you to No Solutions Production Network for producing this podcast, making this all possible. And wow, what an episode.
What an episode. We will see you guys next week.
Yeah.